Now that the How to Train Your Dragon live action is officially released, dare I say this may be the best live action yet. Also, before we get into this, there's obviously a massive spoiler warning for the How to Train Your Dragon live action if you haven't seen it already. Although with some pretty important scenes removed, I'd say it's a pretty solid live action, almost lives up to the original. And I'll be honest, I didn't have much hopes for this live action. There's been so many live actions that have just been absolutely rubbish, I didn't really know what to expect. And I mean, so far it's had some pretty good positive reviews. So let's talk about why it's so good and even talk about the very minimal negatives to this film. I have to admit, I was so amazed by this film, it took me a day or so just to get over it. I definitely shed a few tears towards the end because of how truly gorgeous this film was, and also the fact I was reliving my childhood. Some of the dragon designs were truly questionable, and I had so many doubts and worries going into this film. But I was actually shocked and very much proven wrong at the end. Yes, some of the dragon designs are certainly questionable, but the Red Death was honestly brilliant. Also, Toothless's design just grew on me. I genuinely hated this design at first, but I guess after a while it turns out it wasn't the worst design we've seen. The hideous Zippleback at first looked incredibly goofy to me and just kind of toned down in the looks of danger. But after seeing that scene where all the kids are in the arena, I'm so happy because I'm looking at it and it just looks amazing. I mean, I don't even want to discuss what happened to the Gronkle, to be honest, because what is that? I'll be honest, I loved a lot of the show lore that was brought into this film, my favourite example being Snotlout and Spitelout. For anyone who doesn't know, Spitelout is Snotlout's dad, and in the show we see a lot of Spitelout basically wanting to disown Snotlout and not really wanting anything to do with him. I'm so glad this was brought into the film because not only does it give a bit more character development for Snotlout, but it also just makes Snotlout's character a little bit more interesting. Also, could we just talk about how Snotlout has much more of a speaking role in this film, and I am here for it. Save for Spitelout, honestly. I'm so here for Spitelout and Snotlout having a bit more of a main character role in these films because I love them so much.
Not so fireproof on the inside, are you? There you go.
Removing the guess you're not so fireproof on the inside scene was so disappointing because this scene is so important to me just because it makes sense. And honestly, mainly because this is the main reason that Hiccup kills the Red Death. It's how he does it. So in my opinion, it doesn't make sense as to why they cut this scene. I mean, maybe they're trying to save time, maybe they were trying to do the pacing, I'm not entirely sure, but it makes zero sense as to why they cut this scene. They obviously went over and changed a lot of the soundtracks as well. Some of them sound brilliant. I was a little bit iffy with the new test drive because there was that angelic Halo voice, whatever. I don't know, it's kind of growing on me a little bit, but I don't know, maybe ask me in like a month. Speaking of all the characters, Hiccup was absolutely phenomenal. I was feeling a little uneasy because obviously the Hiccup in the animation was quite nasally and sounded a little weak, and obviously in this he was very much not. And obviously in this it was a completely different accent, and it took me a while to get used to it, but I genuinely think Mason Thames is brilliant for Hiccup. And honestly, same for Astrid. I was a little bit worried at first because I saw a lot of stuff about her being completely out of character. She was slightly out of character, but kind of in a nice way. She was a bit more angry and mean towards Hiccup and, you know, was a lot more closer with Stoic as well, which I actually really enjoyed because once again, that was in the series. Only slightly though. They definitely included the part where just Astrid and Stoic have some sort of relationship as father and daughter wise, because Astrid was a child that Stoic had always wanted, and in a way it's kind of sad but also so interesting. And obviously bringing back Jared Butler for Stoic was just truly magnificent because you could tell that he has worked on this film previously. I mean, only 15 years ago did he say these exact same lines. Fish Legs was honestly so interesting as well in this film because he's such a dragon nerd and he wants to know everything about dragons, but obviously he also does kind of want to kill them, so where do we stand with that, Fish Legs? I mean, the actor did a pretty good job for Fish Legs to say he didn't have a massive speaking role part. The twins is what I was most worried about because the twins are my favourite characters within the entire franchise. Dare I say, they were absolutely perfect. The twins and Snotlout were so good. I could not even go into detail about how happy I am that they nailed this character. Even in the show and the films, he's genuinely brilliant. Honestly, I knew that Nick Frost would absolutely smash his role as Gobbert because, well, it's Nick Frost. He's been in so many good films and he's been absolutely fantastic. My only issue was he wasn't Scottish. That's not exactly my biggest point though, to be honest. He was just great as Gobbert. We very much missed the infamous line of him with trolls on the left socks, which kind of disappointed about, but you know, maybe he'll have some better lines in the second film. Basically, all in all the characters were absolutely phenomenal in this film, and I'm so looking forward to seeing them again in the second one. And going back to the whole Stoic and Hiccup situation, the way it's so obviously shown in this that Hiccup is quite literally a nepo baby. He was giving everything he has because of Stoic, and that was never brought up in the animation, and it was brought up very heavily in this. I'm kind of living for it. They showed it perfectly with all the other kids hating him because of this. Specifically Astrid, to be honest. She was a hater in this film. The post-credit scene for this film was a little confusing at first, but after having to really sit and think on it, it makes sense that it might be the start of Hiccup's map for the second film, because as we know, the second film is already confirmed anyway. Also, not to mention, this film was just so visually stunning, I just couldn't keep my eyes off of watching this film. I'm looking at some of these scenes, and it's like I'm 4 years old all over again, just watching watching the same film again really dug deep into me because I am such a die-hard fan and have been for so many years. Most of the scenes were so identical, and this film was definitely made for fans. It was kind of made to relive that old feeling of watching the film for the first time. And I mean, I got chills so many times in this film because of how good it was. I was definitely reliving that first time I ever watched the film, even if I was 4 and I hardly remember it.